All right, welcome back once again to the Rolling Realtor road trip taking place in the Rolling Realtor studio. We're officially in Arkansas. We're cruising down Highway 187 incidentally towards Rogers.
Much less rain and hail, I'd like to point
Much
out.
less rain and hail than episode 4, which was actually just taped about 10 minutes ago. By the way, if you're ever in this neck of the woods in Arkansas, we're kind of outside of Holiday Island and Eureka Springs. Horse.
Yes.
It's a game, but I like that. But it's beautiful here. It's very interesting. I've never been down 187, but I've heard a lot of stories about it. It's kind of cool. We're going this way. And,
It's a one-lane bridge.
One-lane bridge.
One-lane bridge.
Yeah. Don't worry. We made it. This is a beautiful drive, and you ought to. If you're in this neck of the woods, I recommend coming down here.
This is very scenic.
Taking a little drive here on 187. So we should probably talk about real estate now. So yeah, we're gonna get a little bit local. We're gonna talk about Branson's been in the Wall Street Journal recently, and another publications. I'm a big fan of the Wall Street Journal, and for the first time ever, we're going to feature a publication, I'll call it. A publication that is not the Wall Street Journal, Cigar Aficionado. Many of you may not know at all that I'm an avid tobacconist. Gesundheit. Thank you. Appreciate it. But I enjoy a good cigar or a good pipe. Not a cigarette smoker, but I like a good cigar. And I like Cigar Aficionado magazine. It is a great publication, more of a lifestyle magazine, but they write a lot of articles about golf. Go figure, they kind of go hand in hand. And I was so happy to see.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, you've never been over the 187 bridge? I haven't either. I've just heard about it.
That's a very small one-lane bridge.
It is a very small one-lane bridge. That person, you have to stop, Ken. That person is going. So we're going to stop. And actually, you know what? Just for fun, because we've never done this before, I'm gonna flip the camera around, and we'll show you.
What happens when they stop and they're not going either?
Well, then we're going to be here all day. So we're going to flip the camera around just so that you, our viewers, can see the Highway 187 bridge.
Here we go. This is a wooden bridge.
This is a wooden bridge. You are correct.
But the view off this is very nice.
Pretty cool, right?
Yes. I will say I prefer my bridges one person at a time, as there's a car following us.
Right. Okay, we're back. That was the Highway 187 one-lane bridge, just outside of Beaver, Arkansas. We are actually in Beaver, Arkansas now.
I'm no longer hyperventilating, so life is good.
I think that's cool. That is history right there. I have no idea where we were, so we'll just dig right into it. So I'm reading Cigar Aficionado magazine. There's an entire article in here. This was the December of 2020 issue, and this is just what I thought was awesome. Is there's an entire article out here about our friends. Here they are, the Tiger, and there's Johnny Morris. And it's all about the golf courses, and specifically Tiger's investment in designing Paynes Valley, which is formerly Branson Creek, and it's near Big Cedar. Okay, so let's tie this into real estate. Things like this is awesome for the Ozarks, and I'm just gonna get real focused on what's going on in the Ozarks, and a lot of things that have to do with why is our market specifically so crazy, so hot. And it's because of investment like this and people like Johnny Morris. And he's probably the biggest, but he's not the only one. There are lots of folks who I could name off that are building major projects. And some of those projects, Chateau Cove and Branson Cove, huge developments. And a lot of our local realtors are involved in those projects. And they're bringing a lot of investment into our area. And I'm not going to name their names here because I don't have permission to, but I am going to say that I applaud those people for making that investment. And things like this, I don't know how many times they say Branson, the Ozarks. They specifically name a lot of the things that Johnny has done. It isn't just about the golf course. Probably 10 times in here. And they talk about how great it is. Another thing I really liked was they talk about the Legends of Golf tournament a little bit, but mainly just the focus that Johnny's going to be bringing golf into this area and how great it is to play here. And then, of course, they have this picture of these guys. A lot of these guys being some of my favorite golfers, like this guy and this guy. And they're in Branson, Missouri, hanging out, and this is a place that they come to spend time. And then on the same page, all about getting there and staying there. Where do you go? What do you do? What's the talks about all the accommodations and how easy it is to get there, how centrally located it is. This article, I think, is 7 or 8 pages long. It just keeps going.
The golf scene in Branson is really on the grow. Some very, very nicely done and just beautiful courses. Beautiful courses, very well done. So tying that into real estate is that there is demand for housing here that far outpaces the amount of housing that we have. And this area is not only growing just in general for full-time residents. Lots of people want a second home here.
Very true.
There's a huge market for, we want to buy a house that'll be a second home, and then eventually we'll sell our home where we live, and this is where we'll move permanently. A lot of folks are retiring and coming here because their kids and grandkids love to come here. All of that really just leads to our local economy has a lot of investment and a lot of economic activity because of the investments that other people are making in our community. And that, again, on a very local, granular level, supports higher values and supports or brings in those buyers that support the demand for real estate in our market. And again, so getting back to some of our previous conversation, this has been happening slowly, and it has been sped up by COVID. Now, another big part of that we were just talking about was nightly rental. And I do have an interesting segue that I want to talk about. That interesting segue is the backlash against nightly rental on Airbnb. So we have rules in like Taney Stone County that surround nightly rental. It is actually very difficult to do nightly rentals, and you pretty much have to, you have to buy in a condo development or a subdivision that is already approved, set up for, and is a nightly rental development. You cannot just go buy any old house and anybody give you a guarantee that you'll get a nightly rental permit.
And that's okay. The rules are a good thing.
The rules are there for a reason. It's personal enjoyment. And I'm just not being political. I'm all in favor of it. I'm all in favor of the type of zoning that we have. And part of it, I will tell you, is because of what I'm reading in here. So we've had minor opposition sometimes to nightly rental approval for permits here. Most time it's a few neighbors that come up and say, I just don't want that next to me. And if your neighborhood isn't already approved for it, then you shouldn't have it, right? If you buy a home in a neighborhood that is not set up for nightly rental, why should you just be able to nightly rental whatever you want? It all comes down to protecting property owners and the value of their property.
Some cities see it a different reason. They see solely the benefit of having an increase in taxes. But that should not come at the expense of a decrease in enjoyment from people that live around these properties. So I read this article. It's called "Neighbors Challenging Airbnb." I cannot read upside down, so I'll flip this over. And it's basically about it, and I like the way they put it, unfavorable local regulations, and how this affects Airbnb. But more than that, a large part of this story is about how those nightly rentals affect the people that live near them. And there is actually a big group, and this has to do specifically with an area, I believe in Arizona. Yes, Paradise Valley, Arizona. And they formed an entire group called Fix 1350, which was the number of an ordinance that they wanted fixed to stop short-term rentals. And we've all heard the horror stories. This one, I mean, and you probably heard about it in the news. They were talking about this particular story in here. You know, somebody was killed, murdered at a party, an unlawful party. The Airbnb itself wasn't unlawful, but the party they were having was unlawful. And as it turned out, some of what they're discussing in here, that's very common. And some of these parties are people, instead of renting a commercial venue, which is what they should be doing, they were renting Airbnb homes and throwing parties where they were, charging people to show up and raves and trashing these houses, and really just the neighbors, of course, are calling the cops, and they're kind of having to live with this for some period of time, or maybe nobody shows up. I mean, whatever. But the bottom line is at the end of all of this, what they're doing is illegal, and it's all being brought on by some of this Airbnb stuff. What I want to get to in that is that Branson, in general, in the Ozarks, is probably one of the best places in this country to invest in nightly rentals. One, we have laws that limit them, and so although more have been built, the reason they're being built is because there's a demand for it. So the demand is much higher. Two, we restrict the type of properties that can be in a nightly rental program, and that restriction leads to the types of properties that can be a nightly rental being valued higher than those that can't. So you can make an incredible investment in nightly rental, make a little bit of money over the long term, and that property can either be sold and turned into the cash from it turned into a single family the home you're going to live in, a full-time residence, or it can be kept for an investment. One of the things I get to on that is this: is if you're in a market and you can't find a second home, so you really should look into nightly rentals. That might be a way to go while the inventory is low, somewhere to park your money, and that could be a full-time residence later, or sold and converted into a full-time residence. But the value will be there, either in the fact that you've earned money off of it for so many years, and the resale value should hopefully increase over time. So they're one of my favorite investments, and in a market you can find them here. Condos, go pretty quick, but they are sometimes a little easier to buy and a little less expensive to buy than single-family homes. And yes, you do have to pay dues. But I would caution anyone to look at what you pay for when you pay dues. You're paying to have streets that are always taken care of. You don't have any exterior maintenance by and large. If you do, typically that exterior maintenance is reduced. You probably also get like workout rooms, or maybe access to golf, or whatever, things like that. So you're not just giving away your money, you do get benefits for that. And if you could buy it cheaper, you probably have that money saved and left over so you can use it. So, but I just think it's fascinating that, especially the market the way it is, there's still so much investment going on in the market in the Ozarks. And that just feeds into the fact that we live in a fairly rural area. I mean, most of the people that
Sure.
are in Branson right now are probably tourists. There are probably more tourists than full-time residents in the city of Branson right now. Well, you got to think about that. That being the case, I think you could safely say that that's driving some of the inventory. We're just lacking so much inventory because we do have so many buyers, even though our market is somewhat of a small market. So interesting stuff for now. We're going to get to episode 6. We're going to tell you why this is not a bubble, and that is the big thing you've been waiting on. So we're going to get to that in the next episode.